Real conversations, real people, real impact. Hosted by Chris Jones, Tuesdays at 9, live on the KIP TV network.
Good evening, family. Good evening. Welcome back to the Roundtable Talk Show on the Knowledge is Power TV. You know, we in the network. I don't know if you knew it already, but hey, that's where we at. Knowledge is Power. We're coming back to you live, of course. I'm your host, Christopher Ung Jones, and welcome back to the Roundtable Talk Show. Of course, last week we talked about, the election before the election. We asked questions around whether your ballot could survive the machinery that we know as um, democracy, if you will, going through what we currently see under this administration. And so tonight, I'm giving the system the benefit of the doubt, right? I definitely want us to know, yeah, okay, we see all of these things that are happening, but yes, you're registered. Nobody challenged your citizenship. Um, I'm getting feedback. It's big too. But yeah, nobody challenges your citizenship. You know where to vote. You know how to cast your ballot. You know who's on your ballot. You know what's to be accepted. All of that. Your vote is counted. Beautiful, right? Um, Here tonight, the question I definitely want to impose to our community and to the table, of course, is what was the vote actually worth, right? I definitely want to dig into some substance about it because having the right to vote, right? Having and having political power, if you will, that's two different things. And so I definitely want us to know, you know, we're going back to particular files of we're not going back to particular files of citizenship, or purges, polling place access. We're not doing that. We're going somewhere totally different tonight. We're talking about the map, we're talking about the primary, and we're definitely going to talk about the money, because maybe nobody has the I guess the right or the access to interfere with your ballot at all. We understand that. If somebody can influence what your ballot is capable of producing, that's what we're talking about tonight. Dilute the vote, call it reform. And I've got, I got the crew with me, so let me bring them right on into the table. First up is my big sister, Dr. Catherine Campbell. Say good evening to the people. You're muted, Queen.
Good evening, people. I did that. Good evening, people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's definitely a pleasure to have you back on, Dr. Campbell. Tonight, I need you watching something deeper than a turnout, if you will. We spend a lot of time asking people why don't they vote, and do you know who's on the ballot, all that. I'm interested tonight in whether we're properly teaching people where political power actually gets exercised, if you will. The district, the primary, the candidate selection process, all of that, because somebody can be a faithful November voter and still be entering the political process after some of the biggest decisions have already been made in their community, right? And that's the part of the table I definitely want you to, or your shots I definitely want you to sip on. So
Hold on to your hat.
yes indeed. Next up is my big brother Perry Buzz, but say good evening to the people, big bro.
Good evening.
Yes indeed. He doesn't sound like Barry White, like brother tonight. He sound like, he in a far land, and he is, and I'm so glad he's well. In 116 degrees, that's not heat index, that's
Yes,
degrees.
indeed.
So I definitely want to want him to know that I'm glad you're able to be on with us. Perry, you got the evidence side tonight. When politicians tell us that is, that was partisan or this was partisan, that's not racial. I don't want us to immediately accept that, right? I definitely don't want us to automatically reject it either. But I want to know, what does maps show? What happens to precincts, if you will, who gained in political influence, who lost political power and or political influence. Then when we get to the money, I definitely want you helping us interrogate how much choice is really left to voters after political infrastructure has already separated viable candidates from everybody else. Welcome back to the table, big bro. Next up is my little brother Dustin Harris. Say good evening to the people.
What up, people?
Yes, indeed, Dustin. Tonight, I need you at the most uncomfortable intersection in the city of Beaumont, maybe, or even for party, or even for race. Let's say safe districts, if you will, political competition, and definitely money. And let's get something straight from the jump. Republicans gerrymander, Democrats gerrymander. We ain't doing that childish shiggity where wrongdoing becomes acceptable because our teams did it. That's not what we talk about. And y'all already know my little brother gonna cut y'all one time. But saying both parties manipulated maps does not erase the racial consequences that can happen when heavily black voting constituencies overlap with, let's say, partisan targeting. Especially that's because that's what they calling it now. That's why I need you, little bro. Let's get to work, y'all. Um, of course, if you definitely want to come onto the table, reach out to our platform host, Tony Renfro, or reach out to us streaming live on our, particular social media spaces and platforms. Reach out to us. Let us know that you want to be a guest on the table. You ready to sip some shots? You know what I'm saying? So, but I definitely want you to know, don't come in here just ready to agree and be polite. If you disagree, say so. If I or and my co-host say something, push back. Don't be shy, because tonight and every other night, we don't need four speeches. We need four thorough conversations. So we definitely want you to, if you're gonna be a fifth, pull up a chair. But let us know so we can get you what we talk about. Um, the ballot survived, did the power. Here's what I want us, holding when we enter the first round of shots, y'all. Can you cast a ballot? Voters ask that question. What can the ballot produce? That's the distinction. We ain't answering, just yet. We ain't gonna answer that just yet. But we're gonna work. I definitely position these shots for us to work toward three layers: the map, the primary, the money. And at the end of tonight, I want everybody that's watching on all platforms to understand political participation has something much bigger than walking into a booth on November or any other election cycles, special elections, runoff elections, state, um, you know, rules and law changes, also known as propositions that are on the ballot, charter changes for your city and or your parish. They hit the ballot before they hit you. And so I do want you to know, a lot of people have positioned themselves to put themselves in their governance in power. So we want definitely want to touch on that tonight. Let's start with the map. Our shot for tonight, round one. You do not want to have to talk. You do not want to have to take the ballot if you can move the line. You don't have to take the ballot out of my hand. You don't have to take the application process out of my hand. You don't have to take the mail in ballot out of my hand, especially if you can move the line. Um, let's make packing and cracking plain, if we could, in this round. Say you got a community of voters who consistently vote together. If I concentrate most of them into one particular district, then many that they may win the district overwhelmingly, right? 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. That's packing a whole lot of political strength concentrated in one particular place. If I split that same community across multiple districts, where they're never large enough to become decisive, that's cracking, right? So nobody get removed from the voter roll. Every ballot still counts, but the political math changed, right? That's the setup. Dr. Campbell, your shot. What bothers you more about packing and cracking that voters lose political influence? Excuse me, especially when um especially without losing a single voting right, or that most people don't even know it even happened.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
infuriating. Your vote technically counts, just in a district where it's useless. But the second, that's the real kicker. Most people have no clue their voice was quietly boxed in or spread thin. They show up, they pull the lever,
Mm-hmm.
and go home thinking they did their part. Meanwhile, the game was
Right.
rigged before they even walked in. Ignorance lets it
Mm.
keep happening. Outrage, at least, might fix it. You
Boo.
missed it?
I
Yeah.
no,
Point.
I didn't miss it. I hope they called it. I was like, and period.
Yeah, and
and
period.
that's
Get
and that's
mad,
important, Doctor.
do something
Right.
about it.
Because somebody knows when they're denied a ballot. They may have an idea when the value of collection or collective political organizing around that ballot changed, right? um but I, I I have another question, Dr. Campbell. Why don't we teach this? Why we don't teach that? What's going on with that?
Because it's more than an elevator conversation.
Hmm,
Sometimes sometimes you need more than the 3 minutes or the 15 minutes of attention span that people want to give to it.
correct.
And because of that, most people really don't want to get into it. But yes, it really does need to be taught on a regular basis, not just in one generation, but in every generation.
Correct. And reinforced especially in the older generations, because the game play has changed. The game hasn't,
Exactly.
the play
The play
has.
and the players. The
Correct.
players need to change even more so though.
Mm, mm. That's what civic education has failed us. If y'all want to be honest, we can teach the event, not the structure. That's what we've been doing, teaching the event, not the structure. Then when people keep voting, and representing change, or as an alleged representation of change, we act like they're supposed to somehow understand what happened by osmosis. Make
Mm.
that make sense? No, political literacy has to include the entire map. That's everybody. That's everything.
More than rain down on me yet.
Yes. Our guest shot for tonight. If you're planning, I'm sorry, if you were explaining vote dilution to somebody who has never heard the term, how would you show them that their vote can count legally but matter differently politically? Anybody want to take that?
I
Go
will.
ahead.
I will. I was waiting for him, but I will. Imagine I put it like this. Imagine your neighborhood has 10 people and picks one representative. You vote. Cool. Now imagine they redraw the line so your neighborhood gets split across three different districts. Now you're a minority in every single one. Your vote still counts. It just
Right.
gets added to the total. But you lose every time 60-40 in all three places.
Wow.
Your vote legally exists. It just doesn't change anything anymore. You went from deciding who wins to being a permanent background noise without ever missing an election.
Did you say a JV cheerleader?
B team,
You a senior and you a JV cheerleader? You a senior
riding
in
the
high
bench,
school and you a
riding the
JV
bench.
cheerleader? Good night.
Yeah,
But that's exactly what I was expecting to come from that response, because democracy does not guarantee our preferred candidate wins, right? We're
not
talking
every time.
about how the structure translates groups of votes into representation, right? That's a more serious question than my candidate lost, so the map must be rigged, or the map must be bad, or get this one, folks didn't turn out to vote.
That's what they always say.
Perry, your shot. When lawmakers say they targeted Democrats and not black voters, what evidence would you need to see before accepting or rejecting that explanation?
Well, first, let me say I'm rejecting that explanation, and I'm rejecting it on the grounds of the map itself,
Mm,
uh, because all you need to do is really look at, while they're saying yes, this was Democrat, begin to look at the makeup of those precincts, and I guarantee you, when you begin to see how the number of black minority Democratic precincts have been split
mm,
or are packed together in some precincts, not, although with not enough, power to make anything work. All you need to do is look at, uh, in the state of Texas, you can look at Houston, at Al Green's old district, which was split up in three ways. None, all of which have been put in the districts where, I mean, there's very little power, except those, I think, that may have gotten into District 18. But the same thing happened in District 29, which was a primarily Hispanic district. The same thing
mm-hmm.
happened with what they were doing in Dallas, and how they were getting rid of Jasmine Crockett's old district. I mean, and so, I mean, you can look at the map, but then all you need to also do is look at history. We got a petty uh, person in the presidency who goes after enemies. I mean, and so, I mean, once the state of Texas heard, yes, get rid of. You don't believe that he looked at Al Green and Jasmine Crockett on his enemy list? Come on, I mean, if we're gonna discuss this, let's not add this political theater of being too high minded about what's actually happening here.
Correct. Correct.
And so when you look, I mean, when you look at the same thing happened in in Louisiana with Cleo Fields. I mean, it has
Correct.
gotten split into three different districts. The same thing
Right.
with Memphis, you know, and so yeah, it becomes a dilution of vote, not just up the ballot, but down ballot as well.
Right. And Cleo Fields was one.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. That's where the receipt enters though, y'all, because somebody's public statement is evidence, especially when they saying it out loud, like uh Perry sort of kind of alluded to Jeff Landry in the state of Louisiana, Greg Abbott here in the state of Texas, um, whatever his name is over there in Florida, the individuals that are in Alabama, those that are in Tennessee, and some of the ones that are quietly doing you know, municipal charter changes that aligns according to Project 2025 and or Project 47 or however y'all want to call it,
yeah.
whatever y'all
And
want to call
Chris,
it.
can I also get this last little corner of the shot because thank you for reminding me about Florida because we also have to understand how Democrat establishment also benefits in many ways to a lot of districting, especially as African Americans are
Hmm.
concerned, because you only need to look at in Florida, and Florida allowed DeSantis looked out for his boy Jared Moskowitz and gave him a favorable district, even though they took it away.
Right.
uh, and then uh, bumped Debbie Wasserman Schultz, uh, thinking they would put her in a competitive race, only to find out black leadership stumbled and bumbled, and she saw an opportunity to take a
Correct.
black district because it was much easier picking because she knew,
Correct.
like everything else, that elections are about numbers, and she had enough numbers to win a black district.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. Precinct movement, y'all. Demographics, voting behavior, communities divided, communities concentrated. Which incumbents got safer? He just told you about Debbie Wasserman Schultz got safe because you had a split demographics for represent black representation. I mean, what alternatives were available? You don't have to guess what a map does. Look at the map. Look at the daggum map. Look at the map. Dora them looked at it. Shoot, Dustin, your shot. At what point does repeatedly producing racial political consequences stop looking like an accidental side effect of partisan map making?
Map making, game plan, playbook, manifesto, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
It's been the number one go-to move since the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Correct. 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 I mean, that's where the word repeatedly matters. One consequence doesn't automatically shift or prove a motive, y'all. Our patterns deserve continuity and scrutiny. Scrutiny, I'm sorry. 100%, especially if you're going to call it what it is. Um, Dustin, black voters strongly favor Democrats, right?
That's
In
what they
many
say.
jurisdictions, right, in many jurisdictions. So if Republicans aggressively weaken Democratic voting strength, is it some isn't some racial effect almost inevitable, even if the intent truly was partisan?
Well, that's the point. It's like you know what a voting party is. You know how it worked. You created them.
Mm,
So you know every political party has a racial percentage to it.
mm.
So when you attack one where you know is heavily populated with a certain race over another, you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're trying to get a hit dog to holler.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why this conversation requires grown folks thinking. I'm not gonna lie. It can be partisan, y'all, and have racial consequences. That does not mean automatically make the map unlawful with racial discrimination. That's not what that means. But saying we only targeted Democrats doesn't make black political impact disappear either, y'all. I mean, like, duh, duh. I mean, especially in a country with a two-party system, make it make sense. Somebody pull me up.
If somebody move, if somebody moves every line around your community, but tells you nobody touched your right to vote, are you buying that distinction?
uh, um, um, part of me says yes, y'all. Some of me, because technically you may still have every individual voting right you had yesterday, right? But politically, I'm looking at this whole shiggity sideways because I mean you don't move my polling location. You didn't move my hand. You moved my damn equation around my hand. That's what you did. And like mentioned, Louisiana gives us a real world reason to understand that distinction. Perry mentioned Cleo Fields earlier. I mean, he won Louisiana's second majority black congressional district in 2024. That's not even a complete 2 years ago. That's the legal terrain change, y'all. The Supreme Court decided Louisiana versus Calais, like we told y'all in a previous episode in April. We called it out almost when it happened, right? Almost before it happened, because we've been reading the patterns, right? And so subsequently, Louisiana redrew its congressional map. The second majority black district completely disappeared. Mr. Fields later announced that he would not seek re-election. Now stop playing in our
Our
face.
face.
Stop playing in our face. Don't run past what just happened, because nobody told us that those you know those black voters you cannot vote. Ain't nobody told them, stuck a sign on their door or none of that they could not vote. They didn't even send a letter to encourage them to vote for someone else. How about that? Nobody canceled their ballots or their applications to mail in one. Nobody had to beat Cleo Fields in November. The political container changed, y'all. That's why maps matter, especially when we know we live in a majority minority black neighborhood, precinct, city, county, and state. Make it make sense. Sometimes you don't defeat the politicians. Sometimes you just redraw the political ground underneath them. Now I don't know, nor do I want anybody leaving here saying, "Oh, only Republicans do this," because that would be a bold-faced lie. No, California Democrats have pursued partisan advantage through map making as well. Both parties, like we said in the beginning, both parties deserve scrutiny especially when they manipulate district lines for political advantage. But here's where black political literacy has to go further. If black voters are heavily concentrated inside the Democratic coalition, party, affiliation, or whatever they call it, then partisan warfare over Democratic votes can create serious racial political consequences. That's not an accusation, y'all. That's arithmetic, especially from a person that I know reads numbers. That's arithmetic, and I'm quite sure everybody on this panel tonight was almost good in math, aka arithmetic. And when I'm and and I'm tired of the racial analysis stopping the moment somebody says, "Oh, that was partisan. It was partisan. It had nothing to do with your race. It had nothing to do with your geo political status or your socio economic. None of that. That's what it was. Okay, then show me what the partisan decision did. Who was there before? Who was separated? Now who gained realistic economic power or opposition or opportunity to even elect somebody who lost one because if we go back to Louisiana, they all of them lost one, not ends. This, I mean, and I don't need every black voter packed into a majority black district forever. Black political influence can take different forms of 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 power depending on changes that alter our capacity to elect. Especially if you put what you want me to run over a hurdle. No, we jump over hurdles. You didn't see that in track. My party told me the map is good. Man, get the chat question. Which is harder to recognize? Um, put a one in the chat for somebody stopping you from voting. Put a two in the chat for somebody diluting your community's voting strength. Put a three in the chat for both of those. Or put a four in the chat for I don't understand the difference between tonight. I didn't understand the difference before tonight. So we gonna definitely try to help you out with that. So drop that in the chat if you could. Roundtable question: if everybody keeps the right to vote, but a community uh, uh, loses the practical ability to elect its preferred candidate, has its political power been protected? Dr. Campbell, you have the floor.
Okay, so for the chat question, I'm gonna say number two, hands down. And that's because number one is obvious. Long lines, polls closed, machines broken. You feel that. You get angry, you can point to it. Number two is invisible. Nobody blocks you, nobody turns you away. You walk in, vote, leave, feeling proud. Meanwhile, your community gets carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey 6 months ago.
Hmm.
And you never even saw it happen. Number one is a punch in the face. Number two is poison in your water. One you take notice immediately. The other takes years, and by then the damage is already done. So
Correct.
yeah, dilution is harder to recognize by a mile. And if you're just seeing it now, if you're just seeing the difference now, then welcome to the real fight. Now you know. Okay, and so for the roundtable question, if everybody if everybody keeps the right to vote, but a community loses the practical ability to elect its preferred candidate, has the political power been protected? Absolutely not. That's like saying your car is protected because the engine is still there, even though someone has disconnected the battery. Political power isn't about the act of voting. It's about the outcome of the voting. If you can vote every single election but never win a seat, never influence a policy, never get your concerns on the agenda, then your power isn't protected. It's ceremonial.
Hmm.
You've got the motion of democracy without the muscle. And that's not protection, that's pacification with paperwork.
Oh, y'all throwing these peas out here tonight.
Pow. There's another one
Perry,
for you.
Perry said piss poor president. I mean 3P president. I was or something along those lines or whatever he said, but it was equivalent to piss poor president. I want you to know.
Yeah.
Perry, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say regarding the poll question number two, because it comes in so many different forms, including uh, some self
Mm-hmm.
diluting activities that we perform in, I mean, day in and day out. I mean, and choices that we make, and like I said, doesn't really impact Texas in this way, but in Florida, saying that I am a non-party affiliate uh, is pretty much a self-removal from the process when it comes to the primaries, and so you have opted not to have a choice on either side, which you know um, is quite a in the state of Florida. I think that was pretty much a third of
Mm.
voters, who opted not to. Uh, But then, regarding your question, I have to agree with Dr. Campbell. No, and um, the way I look at it as, and you alluded to it earlier, Chris, we talk about this right to vote, and we have to understand that the right to vote is just a procedure.
Mm.
Can
Mm.
you register? Can you show up, like you said, where you're able to cast a ballot? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
was it counted? All of those are procedural steps. But when it comes to power, that's substantive. That's a number. That's a count.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's something that you can put your arms around. And so when you begin to ask yourself, well, I mean, how many people is it around me that if I put my vote with them, why is it that we can't get anything done, or why is it that we are always falling short? That is the time that you need to discover, and you need to unpack what is the power of my vote, and why is it like this, and why, and how can we begin to change that? Because it doesn't help to have even and I've said this even regarding Beaumont politics. Yeah, yes, all you have four ward council members, but you can't tell me, and I do know that they all have one vote at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't tell me that a ward member coming in having only one with only 200 or 400 votes says that they're coming in with a lot of power. It doesn't. The numbers don't bear that. So we must understand that if we want our representatives to have power, they need to have better representation showing up. Their numbers need to represent.
Bam. Golly. I don't even want to give him a bowl of beer nuts here. Golly. Dustin, you have the floor.
Let's see. So for the chat question, I'm gonna go with two because never been a drinker myself. But I'm pretty sure if you took my shot and then divvied it out around 6, 7 cups, it ain't the same shit.
Absolutely.
But for the round table, no, cause follow me now. For people in my age bracket, we did a lot of video game playing. So this would be like if someone hand you the second game controller, but they put the game on one player. Sure, sure, you get to press all the same buttons I get to
All the
press,
buttons.
but you really don't get to control the outcome of the game, now do you?
Golly. Golly.
Mm, mm.
Here, you can play. Go ahead and play because you're getting on my nerve. Here.
That's
Hey!
like giving the control to Shiva.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I want y'all to know. Um, um, the right to vote. Like I agree with everybody around the table. The right to vote, especially when the right to vote is there. Yeah, it still exists. But if structural decisions materially weaken the community from the inside and its ability to translate votes into representation, I'm not going to act like or pretend nothing happened just because every ballot was counted. Yeah, you finally allowed us to verify even that particular count, right? That's too shallow for these people. The ballot survived, yes. The question we need to ask is whether the power attached to our ballot or attached to our block or attached to our collective voting power survived with it. And that it brings us to another place where political power can you know definitely hold um not only our elected accountable but ourselves when we fail to engage in this civic process. That's the calendar, the whole, like Dr. Campbell said at the beginning, learn it 365. It's something we should always learn 365 in season and out of season, because when the electors and the elected come into our community with just fugazi rhetoric, we could definitely say, oh no, I'm voting, or oh no, we are voting for this particular thing, this particular stuff, this particular policy. And then because of these particular things, stuffs, and policies, I choose to vote for this particular person. See, here's our signed agreement that we have. That's how we have to move in today's politics. Round two. The chaser for round two is, what if November isn't the election that really matters? Let me test the room right quick because everybody knows there's an election in November. I definitely know that everybody knows there's an election in November. Now, without pulling out your phone, when is your next primary election? Or when was your last primary election?
March.
Mm, What was what was the
March.
last runoff?
The last runoff was July. I mean June. June.
What?
End of May. End of May. First part of June.
All right. And the only reason I know for sure Dr. Campbell can respond to those things is because that's a precinct chair herself. I just want you to know we have. Um, we have to build an entire civic culture around go vote in November. We've built that. We've built, you know, uh GOV go vote TV or whatever. Yo,
Get
all
out the
those
vote.
little, yeah,
GOTV.
they all that. I messed it up on purpose because you're still not getting out the vote. So I mean, we not built this. We're not built the same culture around. Find out when the competitive choice actually happens, and in political safe districts, those may not even say that they might not be the same data. Uh, so I just want you to know, Perry, if a district is so politically safe that everybody basically knows which party will win in November, shouldn't we be treating that party's primary like the real election?
Absolutely.
I thought so.
You know, but more than anything, I mean, that really, when we have that set up, uh, then that's a design failure. Because, I mean, when you begin to look at it, uh, you've only given yourself one option out of however many were in that race, but you've not given yourself an option on the other side. So you're really screwing yourself, and you know that you've already locked in. Really, and I don't even want to call it the leader, because really what you are left with is the last one to the bottom. Think about it. You have an election. It's the primary. 16% of the people turn out. 16% overwide. Throughout. 16% Republican and Democrat turnout. That means only a portion of them are Democrats. I mean, if that's Jefferson County, that may be anywhere from what? Anywhere from 3 to 4% or whatever above. I mean, you know. So when you look at your lead, so when you look to see who got elected, as I was as we were looking at Debbie Wasserman Schultz, someone came up with this old foolishness, hollering about 55% of the people didn't want Debbie, and I'm like, yeah, well, 86% of the people said they didn't want none of y'all. So what you was left with was the last one that couldn't get flushed to the bottom.
You was the swirling
So y'all, so
particle.
we're never choosing leaders. We'll leave it. All we are left with is the scrum that
Remnants.
didn't get caught up in the flush.
Mute him.
Tell me where
Yes,
I'm wrong.
indeed.
I'm willing
Hey,
to admit I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. But them
I ain't hear
numbers
no
say
lies.
now that's a race to the bottom, not a race to the top.
That's what it says.
That's what it's saying.
If you're not in the primary crowd, your voice barely registers. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. Yes, that's the political reality. The calendar can call November the general election, but competition determines when those elections really are. And let him tell it. Y'all floating spooky speckles that didn't go down. You the little stubborn turd that won't go down. You got to flush more than 3 times in order for it to go down. Good freaking night. Good freaking night. The best question for this round, y'all. Why do you think so many voters know the date of the presidential election but couldn't tell you when the congressional, state, or local primary happens?
Because they
Because
publicize
one is
that
a
clown show.
spectacle and the other is a homework.
Wait, wait. Say that again, Dr. Campbell.
Because one is a spectacle, the other is homework.
Okay, Dustin, what you were saying?
They publicize that clown show. They always pass the flyers out to the circus.
Dustin, I'm gonna pull up your shot because you already ready. You already told us, hey man, don't be spreading my shot around this table. Does creating political, does creating politically safe districts unintentionally or intentionally give smaller primary elections more power over who ultimately represents everybody?
I like these little cute names they give safe districts. But everybody knows it's intentional. It can't be nothing but intentional. But look, you know what? I'm gonna give them 50-50 credit because a broke clock is right twice a day.
Mm,
So
mm.
they could have actually did it by mistake and then found out it worked. But because safe districts give primary groups huge power over people's votes in the primary elections. In the safe districts, they basically challenging armless man to a fist fight.
Ooh wee. I'm no response, Dr. Campbell. You ready for your
Yes, I'm stepping
good
over it like a
good
log
night?
in the road.
Man. Oh man, if he would have said something else, I'd have been like, mute him. Mute him too. Good freaking night. Dr. Campbell. What responsibility do political parties and community organizations have for teaching voters that showing up only in November may mean showing up too late?
It's a massive responsibility, and most of them are failing it.
Mm,
Here's the deal: parties know exactly how the game works. They spend millions on primary strategies, but they'd rather you stay hyped for November than get smart about March because a
mm,
fired up
mm,
base is easier to manage than an informed one.
mm,
Community organizations are closer to the ground, but too many treat primaries like inside baseball,
mm.
something for politicos, not everyday people. That's a cop
Correct.
out. Their job, tell people straight. The general election is the finale. The primary is the audition. If
Correct.
if you're not in the room for the audition, don't be shocked when the finale isn't your show. Stop with the fancy voter guide nobody reads.
Mm,
Knock knock on doors before the primary. Text people real dates, not just vote posters. Social media countdowns. Make it urgent. because if they don't teach it, who will? The politicians who benefit from you sleeping in, um I'm sorry, uh if they don't teach it, who will? The politicians who benefit from you sleeping in, that's who benefits from it. They're counting on your ignorance.
Mm,
Definitely counting on your
100%. 100%. Put me up, Dr. Campbell.
If 100,000 people vote in November, but a much smaller group effectively picked the winner months earlier,
Hmm.
who really chose that representative?
Um, this is where we have to stop, being sentimental about turnout numbers. Oh, she pulled or he pulled or they pulled over 100,000 people to vote in November, in November.
In November.
That's the excellent, participation month. That's when, mostly everybody looks forward to participating is in November. It's in November. And so if districts that are claimed to be safe, that the nominee of one party is essentially guaranteed to win, and 20,000 of those voters choose that nominee months earlier, then those 20,000 exercised a different kind of political power, if you will. They selected the 100,000 may largely have been ratified, if you will. Now, that doesn't mean November doesn't matter. There are, other races, measures, margins, all that other stuff that they, you know, want to throw out. Like Dustin say, these sweet words that they throw out. Margins matters, mandates matters, turnout matters, all that other good hoopla. But in that one safe seat race, we need to be truthful about when meaningful competition occurs, right? Especially if that competition just so happened to not be um, a huge individual. And that's where or why our community can't keep thinking elections equals November. Elections are a sequence, y'all. Candidates file in primary, maybe a runoff, maybe a general election, maybe a special election. Sometimes redistricting changes that whole sequence before anyone even votes. Or, like you here in the state of Texas, you might get purged from the voter roll, that is, from the vote. But then again, ain't no telling because who we got running here for governor and senate and congress and a lieutenant governor, and if these people stay in these seats, y'all, I promise. Florida's newly drawn maps already, like Perry say, affecting incumbent strategy and primary competition before the November general election even arrives. That's what I want people to understand. Maps don't just change who wins, they change who runs, who retires, who get challenged, who gets the money, who gets the party invested in them. They may be a strong community candidate, but the Democratic or the Republican or Independent Party ain't throwing no money behind that individual. So guess what? You're not gonna hear much about that person.
Hmm.
The map can start shaping the election long before the campaign even exists. That's
And it
why,
does.
right. That's why somebody can vote every November of their adult life and still repeatedly miss the most consequential decisions in their district. or in their precinct. Not because they don't care, because they were taught these particular responsibilities the wrong way, if you will. Or
Yeah.
they start in the starting line from the wrong end. Chat question. How often do you vote in primary elections? Put a one
Mm.
in the chat for every election. Put a two in the chat for sometimes. Put a three in the chat for rarely. Put a four in the chat for never. Put a five in the chat for I didn't realize how important they were. Drop your number in the chat. Roundtable question for this round. If the primary effectively determines who holds the office, are November only voters choosing their representatives or ratifying a decision already made? Dr. Campbell, you have the floor.
Okay, so to the chat question, I'm in the every election category without question. And I guess that's really no surprise to any of you. Mhm.
Correct.
But here's why that question hits different. If you picked every election, you're already ahead of the game. You get that November is just the finale, it's not the main event.
Right.
Sometimes or rarely, you're not alone. But now you know, those sometimes primaries often decide everything. Time to bump that number up.
Correct.
Never, honest answer. And honestly, that's where most people are. But now you see the catch. Skipping primaries means letting other people pick your choices for November.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that they were that important. That's exactly why we had this whole conversation. Now you know, and knowing changes everything. So
Mm.
here's the real question. After everything we've talked about, maps, money, dilution, primaries, does your answer change going forward? Check yourself. So the roundtable question, if primaries effectively determine who holds the office, are November only voters choosing their representative or ratifying a decision already made? They're ratifying, plain and simple. You're not choosing, you're rubber stamping a choice that's already locked in months ago in the primary. It's like walking into a restaurant at 9 p.m. and choosing between the last two entrees left. Sure, you picked one, but the real decision happened when the kitchen ran out of everything else. November only voters aren't selecting their representative, they're just signing off on someone else's pick.
Mm.
So if you weren't in that primary, you didn't choose, you just accepted.
Trying to tell you, Perry, you have the floor. You muted. You muted, Perry.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
Oh, you good.
I am number one. I do vote every primary, general, municipal election, so try not to miss. Um,
Any.
yeah, I would have to say that that is a ratification of what has already been made, especially those who, um,
What you chopping up over there?
and the numbers bear it out. November is the time that everyone schedules in their calendar that they need to vote. And for some people, it's every 4 years. It's like leap year. I mean, they only remember it every four. So that in some way leads to the haphazard government that we have, because
Mm.
when you hear people saying they won't change, but then the ones who always show up are saying, well, I know my person good, I mean, and so you never get change because they're saying it's someone else, because far be it for me to make a bad choice. But then also there is an element that we have unleashed in voting. It started with our familiarity with a candidate, which is why you do see a lot of people in local races talk about, the mayor of city council as if they know him, because they do, you know. Uh, but nevertheless, there's amount of you still have to look at that office in a much different way, and
Mm.
so, but now we're finding out that people are kind of taking that same approach in terms of what they were doing with Trump. Folks really acted as if they could identify with with the candidate. But what that has led now into is not that people are voting; it's that people are trying to say they're trying to pick the winner.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you get a lot of these people now saying they frustrated with Trump. Well, no, you was trying to pick a winner, not someone who had this authority over your life. I mean, it was okay when he said ICE and those people, when you didn't think that you were a part of that group, or you didn't know how it affected those around your community.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't realize that when you were a farmer, and that impacted your workers. And especially if you're a beef farmer now and he's still screwing you around. All that really doesn't
Ooh.
sound good anymore, because you were trying to pick a winner
Correct.
and not someone who could help govern and give policy that would help make your business and your life more affordable, and the things around you more attractive. So yeah, yeah, that's what we've got.
Man. Dustin, you had the floor. Golly.
All right, for the chat question, I'm a one. If you got an election, I'm voting for it. I don't care what you got. And while I'm on the subject, I need y'all to start replacing my old people at my voting location. I don't like small talking new old people.
Say it again.
I'm tired of them replacing my old people at my voting poll spot. I don't like small talking to old folks.
You sure right.
But as for the question, let's see what I got here in my notes. Yeah, just like I thought, ratifying the decision made because they already missed the party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They already missed the pilot.
Correct.
And I already missed
Correct.
it.
Correct. And Dustin, that's voter responsibility right there.
Yeah,
That's voter responsibility right there. I think the answer depends on the district, of course, but where a primary generally determines the office holder, November only voters are arriving, like Dustin said, you arriving after the decision or the decisive political choice has already been presented to the greater somebodies, right? And so that doesn't mean shame the voter. It means move the education system upstream to catch everybody as they get ready to filter into these polls, right? That's how you build an educated electorate. That's how individuals that choose or say they're going to run become I will say, respectful to the constituency that they're intending to represent, whether they are the body that elected them or the body that did not elect them, right? And so, you know, let's definitely keep it one step further than just the polling opportunity, because before the primary, somebody has already survived long enough to become a candidate without noticing. And that's what, you know, we don't realize. Some of these candidates are paraded in the backgrounds or in the back scenes or in the back happenings or these back meetings before they're even presented to you as the constituency to vote for. And if that doesn't change, then you're gonna be in a almost the same condition and situation that we're
Yep.
currently in now, trying to figure it out. Um, round three. Um, Dustin, how much influence do voters really have over candidate selection if money and political institutions have already determined which candidates can afford to become viable, even visible?
Now, this is something that always bothers me about politics because I always got on my goddamn nerves how you can basically buy a vote. But
Mm,
we're gonna talk about it anyway.
hmm,
So voters retain formal power to choose leaders at the ballot box. On paper, they do.
hmm.
But wealth and party structure heavily shape who runs. Major donors and political groups act as gatekeepers, deciding which campaign gets funded and media attention.
I'm so glad you put the gatekeepers in there. Go ahead.
Mhm. This
Hmm.
process can limit choice before voters even cast a vote. You know, kind of how they did with Hillary and Bernie Sanders. But that's another
Correct.
subject. Um, because too many refuse to research and think for themselves. So it's whoever the money put on TV looking like the shiny penny is who they're gonna vote for. Because they basically turn election into a high school popularity concert where it just pay to win. Which is
Mm,
why I personally hate that you have to have money to run an election at all. I think if you can't win without throwing dollars at it, you ain't worth a damn.
oops. And that's what he said. And that's what he meant. Because I'm sure he muted his mic.
Now I left it on because
Oh.
it wasn't done.
Ah! Go ahead.
Because especially in the city of Beaumont, I am sick and tired of seeing all you goddamn business owners
I'm
debo
sick of
your
you.
way through elections.
Mm,
Because it ain't no coincidence that the fire union and police union back business owners let they benefit from.
mm,
That it ain't no coincidence.
mm.
But it also ain't no coincidence that these business people who are city council members are also friends or associates with other business members who happen to own most of downtown that they keep throwing the city's money at.
Boom, boom, boom.
Ah, get out
And
my mouth.
then y'all want to play the who's the blame game when it's almost election time, so y'all try to get people on y'all side. Which one cost
Correct.
the city more money? Was it the $2 million building that y'all tore down to make a parking lot that you still ain't made a parking lot yet?
Boop, boop.
Boom, 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 boom.
Or is it the reoccurring bill that's gonna come due with the fire department and police department?
Boom, boom, boom.
Hey.
Or is it the fact that y'all trying to gang up to get the mayor out of office so y'all can have y'all 4-part votes so y'all can do whatever y'all want with the city? Which one is it?
Oh,
Boom, boom,
can I
boom.
ask?
And all of it's behind the dollars that y'all gonna throw at all these elections and make it seem like y'all doing so much for the people of the city
Correct.
when it's really y'all doing for yourself.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
But
And if I could respond, it's the reoccurring because we pay that annually. I'm just saying, y'all, don't let them fool ya. Oh no, like Bob Marley said, your light bill costs more than I guarantee you. Your light bill will cost you more than your car note because you're gonna have to continue to pay that light bill after you done paid off your car. Mm. And that's what was the AT&T building. You paid that off. You done paid that. We wasted that money. And I'll say that. We wasted that. We did. But it's gone. That's it. But the money we gonna waste and we gonna continue to waste on um firefighters reoccurring contracts, the union's reoccurring contract or payment structure or wage structure, however you want to put it. Same go for the police department. And I keep telling y'all the fire department got leverage over y'all because now they are fire and EMS. So now they got extra leverage over y'all. And the people that, like Dustin said, y'all, your friends that you allowed in them seats that was buddy buddy close to these people that got funded by these unions, now got the whole city of Beaumont in a pickle. I'm just saying, nice, nice, nice. I'm sorry to throw your shout. I'm
and I
done
mean,
with.
and just that this is not an overnight occurrence. If I'm not mistaken, firefighters union been deciding the mayor's race dating all the way back to at least what 2021, right?
At the least, if not before then.
probably
If
all the way
not
back
before.
before.
If not, like I said, if not before then. I remember they were trying to endorse me for to run against Odwin in the beginning when I first ran for mayor. And I told them no. Because I knew what they were about. They were already in our community with the union representatives going door to door telling people that, oh, there's an apparatus or a fire truck that's not moving or operating in your community, scare tacting our community, our seniors, into believing that their fire department was insufficient. The same tactic that they're doing now, the same tactic that Mike Williams have done recently on his Facebook post, and many others throwing out just random numbers like those numbers. Yeah, thank you for throwing out them numbers, but you still haven't addressed the issue of the reoccurring payments that we're going to be offering and obligated to through the firefighters union. That's an obligation, not something we can sell off like the property at the AT&T building. uh Dr. Campbell, no.
Yes.
It's a guest shot. Where is the legitimate line between financial and candidate, supporting a candidate and allowing wealthy donors, Dustin, man, that was heat. Wealthy donors, PACs, or parties to become political gatekeepers. And that's why I said, Dustin, that was heat because you smashed on that guest question. You don't even have to respond to the guest question because it was all up in there.
But I could tell you the line. The line, when
Mm.
you take your pocket, turn it inside out, and it got that little seam line on it. That's where it's at.
In the cracks and crevices
Cause
of
they
your
deep.
pocket?
Cause they deep in them candidates' pockets.
Correct. 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 That's that lint ball you be trying to figure out how it got a whale up in
Yeah,
that
that lint
corner.
ball, $100 bill to them.
Man, man. Who else want to hit that guest question? That guest shot.
Um, just to explain it like it's a 10-year-old. They're buying access. Or are they buying access or are they buying the agenda? So
Mm,
support equals you help a candidate communicate their vision to more people. Your money amplifies their voice.
mm-hmm.
Gatekeeping equals your money shapes their vision or keeps others from even competing.
Mm.
The line crosses when a donor's call gets returned before constituents. A PAC's ad buys by PAC's ad by decides who's viable, not the community's priorities. A candidate changes their stance after a big check, not
Mm.
before.
Hmm.
Legitimate support lifts the messenger. Gatekeeping buys the message.
Correct.
So, how to tell the difference? Simple. If the money follows the candidate's proven values, it's support. If the candidate follows the money's value, it's gatekeeping.
All day, every day. 100%. 100%. Let me put that in the chat.
That's the
Let me
same
throw
thing.
that
Dustin said. It's just a
pretty.
explain it like I'm telling a 10-year-old
You wanted it to be pretty and plain. I ain't mad at you. Y'all on them peas up anyway.
tonight.
um, right. Dr. Campbell, your shot. Do we lose potentially strong public servants because they cannot raise enough money to get through the political gate before voters ever hear their name or from them?
Absolutely, we lose them by the truckload. And here's
Wow.
the ugly truth: the political gate isn't talent or vision; it's cash. If you can't raise six figures before the first ad runs, you're dead in the water. Meanwhile, the candidate with the big donor list gets the spotlight, the endorsements, and the electability label. So the school principal the school principal with brilliant ideas, the local organizer who actually knows the neighborhood, the
Mhm.
small business owner who isn't plugged into the donor circuit, they never make it to your ears. Their name doesn't
Absolutely.
appear on your ballot, not because they wouldn't be great, but because they couldn't afford the entry fee. We don't just lose good people, we lose different people. That
Correct.
leaves us with the same tired choices cycle after cycle, wondering why nothing ever changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. That's why I say follow the money. But don't automatically invent a conspiracy when you find it. I mean, please
Hmm.
don't. Especially around a candidate that we need. Because, like she said, all these, um, never mind. Perry, your shot. If two candidates appear on our ballot, but only one had the money, party infrastructure, consultants, and exposure necessary to become competitive, how much of that choice was actually made by voters?
Um, I would say as not as much as we think. Um, primarily, I mean, and you have to look at it at this. I mean,
Mm,
it starts with the fact that, as you were just saying, and as everyone else has said, if I got one candidate and we start off with, and he's Jeff Johnson, the name you know, uh, you know, remember that from Eddie Murphy, Jeff
correct.
Johnson, you know. Um, uh, that is the truth. I mean, people went in and recognized the name. We have to, in some ways, understand the mindset, at least of some of the uh, voting population that we're dealing with. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I will say, as Dustin said, uh, I happen to see the race, uh, Angie Nixon and Alexander Vindman in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Vindman had millions. When I say millions of dollars, he had a bunch of million, and Angie may have had a couple of 100,000, if that much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'm like Dustin. I mean, if you don't have money, you better have a doggone good game plan.
Correct.
And that's at least what Angie had in a sense of understanding where she needed to be able to get her numbers from. Because
Correct.
Venmo wasn't really running; he just had the money. And at some point, they thought it was going to be an easy race, but Venman didn't. He wasn't from Florida, so he didn't know how to get around Florida.
Mm.
So to that degree, yeah, and I believe people are inspired when they have a candidate that they see as at least being creative out of their way and not just talking out of their way. I mean, and I think that yeah, I mean sometimes I do think we lose good candidates because they're in the wrong slot. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, if we gonna play this, I need to know you comfortable with being my pawn.
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
need you to be the bishop. I don't need you to be the rook right now. I need you to be, a good pawn for us. And so when we have leaders that we can't count on, that then begins to make it hard to find stability and find some power that we can begin to.
Right. 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 I mean, that's my concern overall, especially with you and what you mentioned and what Dr. Campbell mentioned right behind it, and that's why I asked those questions almost right behind each other, right? Working people, grassroots leaders, people without wealth networks, people who may know the neighborhood better than anybody, but don't have 20 people who can write large $100,000 checks. We say, as community, run for office. Then the candidate discovers the first campaign isn't necessarily for voters, it's for resources. And then that whole entire time, that individual is going door to door looking for resources instead of being able to deliver what it is that they're trying to bring to the constituency. We can't demonize competence, y'all. Fundraising is part of campaigning, right? 100%. Coalition building is part of campaigning, 100%. But my issue isn't that somebody hasn't become visible or viable. The issue is whether the voters understand how viability was constructed to them, and
Mm,
that's the difference. So some of the individuals that were put in our face, like Dustin said, were not viable candidates from the jump, which is
right.
part of the reasons why even the appointments of the city of Beaumont has us in the conditions that we are in financially. um who gonna pull me up, or is it somebody else?
Who gets the first meaningful
Oh, it
say
is me.
over it's you? Who gets the first meaningful say over who represents us? The people who eventually cast the ballots are the people who financed which candidates survived long enough to get there.
No one. No one doesn't have a neat answer to that question, because voters absolutely have the final authority to reject any candidate. Money does not walk into the booth and vote. Signs do not walk into the booth and vote. Pamphlets do not walk into the booth and vote. I'm just letting you know. Feeding me does not guarantee that I'm gonna go into the booth, let alone go into the booth and vote for you. So, but before we even see the ballot, somebody helped determine who's standing there. right? Money help determine that. Who can who that person can hire, who can advertise, who can travel, go from here to here, who can poll, test, just take sample, polls at particular public places, who can stay in the race after a bad month, who can answer the attack, you know, that somebody was given from the public, who can hire counsel, wise counsel or political counsel, um, who can get their message in front of enough people to become familiar, and as well as bring in new voters. That's where uh, that's where it all has to start at the hearing. That for me, it has to start there. The candidate isn't viable, is what they tell us, or Chris, you an underdog. Fine, I'll be that underdog. Well, um, it's not the underdog's fault that you're in the position that you're in when the underdog and or underdogs were the ones that were telling you, hey, we're about to hit this wall. Now we're trying to figure out how the hell did viability get defined in this current situation. Money, polling, endorsements, party support, media attention, donor confidence, all of that, especially when we see here in the city of Beaumont, the same union that gave to you is propping somebody to run against you. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And they're still trying to wean and bleed the city dry for its monies, knowing that the revenues aren't there. Make that make sense. I thought this was a collaborative. I thought this was a collaborative. Candidates can't raise because they're not considered viable. Candidates isn't considered viable because they can't raise. That's the gate, y'all. Not not the an absolute gate, but a gate. It is one we have to jump over. And if you're with me, here's where I want black political strategy evolving. If we're only participating after candidates already are built, we are political consumers. Somebody else recruited, somebody else financed, somebody else trained, somebody else enlightened or developed. Then we get into, you know, invited to choose. Hey, come choose my candidate. Okay, fine. But political power is bigger than a choosing. It's also producing, especially being able to produce who we are preparing to run, who are we training to in policy, who understands municipal budgets as well as charters, uh, county governments, state governments, Congress. All of that has to matter for your local official to be even efficient and effective where you are. Who are the relationships that those individuals are building with? I mean, because money has already had one. Some candidates survive the financial test, some don't. Then we vote among whoever made it through that particular test. And most of the time, as we can see, there are outside entities and sometimes inside entities that will contribute to another candidate more than you, even though you are the one that's more viable. I'm just saying. Stop letting folks play in y'all face. It tells us we have our agency needs, and those needs to build institution must start early. That's all I'm saying. Check question number 3. Who has the most influence over which candidates become politically viable? Put a 1 in the chat for the voters, put a 2 in the chat for donors, put a 3 in the chat for political parties, put a 4 in the chat for PACs and political organizations, Put a five in the chat for all of them together. Can somebody please stop that tapping? Thank you. Drop your number in the chat. Roundtable question number three. If voters choose the winner, but maps, primaries, and money determine much of the field before they arrive, where does democratic choice actually begin? Dr. Campbell, you have the floor.
And so, for the chat question, all of them together but not equally. Here's the real pecking order. Donors open the door, no cash, no campaign. They're the bouncer. Parties point to the spotlight. They decide who gets serious consideration.
Correct.
PACs and organizations pour fuel on the fire. Ads, mailers, attack dogs. Voters, you get the final say, but
Hmm.
only among the names that survive the first three filters. So, yeah, all of them matter, but voters are playing cleanup, not quarterback. By the
Correct.
time you hear a name, the real choice already happened in back rooms, donor calls, and party strategy sessions.
Hmm.
You're not picking from the whole pool, you're picking from the pre approved list. Mm, mm. So, the roundtable question: if voters choose the winners maps, um, I'm sorry, if voters choose the winner, but maps, primaries, and money determine much of the field before they arrive, where does democratic choice actually begin? Honestly, it barely begins at the ballot box. Democratic choice starts way earlier, if at all. Here's the real change. Maps decide which communities even get a shot. Money decides who can afford to run. Primaries decide who's left standing by the time you show up. By the time you walk into the voting booth, the menu's already been written, filtered, and paid for. You're not choosing from all the options, you're choosing from the survivors. So, where's the real choice? In who draws the lines, who funds the campaigns, and who
Hmm.
shows up to the primary. If you're not in those rooms, your choice in November is mostly just echoing someone else's decision. Democracy didn't start when you pulled the lever, it started months ago. And if you missed it, you didn't really choose, you just approved.
Correct. Correct. Pierre, you have the floor.
I would say, in regards to the chat question, the cartel, which is the political parties, the donors, and the PACs. The
I
cartel
knew
is
it.
pretty
I
much
He
knew
said a
it.
running.
cartel.
Political action cartels. I
Right?
mean,
Yeah. You know. You know. And I always say, I mean, the voters are always a rubber stamp, but I always point to the city of Houston when they closed the exit on off of 59 that led into downtown. It was the 59 Texas Avenue. All of a sudden, one day, that exit was gone. Nobody said anything. Nobody really knew why. Everything was hush mouth. Then, about 2 years later, when the Astros wanted a new arena, lo and behold, they want one of the places was right there at Texas Avenue. And the crazy thing was, the first time they voted for it, because they needed the public to vote for it. The public, it didn't even pass, and they had to hurry up and put it back on the ballot again. And lo and behold, it passed. It was like, well, man, if that was no other choice but to tell folk, look, the
you
numbers
would
got
win.
it wrong the first time, so we corrected your numbers this time to
Correct.
get it right.
I'm gonna get your
But
numbers right so we could get it passed. Kind of.
yeah, so yeah, we that is it at its worst. Uh, but our lack of participation is really to our peril, and so there's no one that uh, I mean, it requires, as we say, better education, better candidates, better understanding how to make better alliances, uh, such that we do produce better candidates.
Yeah,
You know, and so I mean, like I said, I mean, hey, I may not like Republicans, but I do want the best Republican. I do want the best they have to offer.
I agree. Give me your best.
Yeah.
Dustin, you had the floor. Dustin, you had the floor.
I'm an all the above type person when it comes to these type of questions. It's usually the right answer in the military.
Boom, boom, boom.
But as for the thing, I'm a grassroots person, so I always say it begins on the basement level. So it begins with your house. Get your house in order. Is all the voting people voting the eligible folks in your house vote? Then branch out to your family. For a person like me, who has probably over 300 family members in the city, I can get a hold of all of them.
Correct.
So you gotta get
Correct.
your family, make sure they know what's going on, make sure they eligible to vote, make sure they register in time, and then you can branch out. Your friends, neighbors, community. Let's go ahead and bring back old school voting parties.
Mm,
It apparently, it
mm,
can't be an official voting party because they make stuff like that illegal. But do a non-official one.
mm,
Just say you're a bunch of friends hanging out and y'all just all gonna go vote in the same day.
mm,
And especially with how the voting is now, especially for Texas, sure, if you get enough of your friends and family members to show up, you could probably get the election by yourself. Because they
yeah.
like to throw it out there. Oh, well, the Democratic people didn't show up. Oh, the young people didn't show up. Look, the last time I checked, ain't nobody showing up.
Correct.
So, you get a
I
good little
you know
turnout.
you know, but I think we asked the wrong people to get involved in elections. I think I'm of the belief we need to get some nosy people. We need to let them get involved.
Dr. Campbell told you those people are not nosy. They are aware. They are watchers.
But I
Those are
need
not
some no.
nosy
I need some
people.
nosy
Protectors.
folk. I need some nosy
They
folk who
nosy,
love.
but you can't call them nosy, Perry. Don't
If you
call them
if
nosy.
they in
You
your
got to give them a clean name.
if they in somebody's business, they nosy. So I mean, and that's
They're
what
the
I need.
neighborhood
Golly.
I need some
protectors.
people who love to be in folk business.
Golly.
They're the neighborhood
Um,
protectors.
Democratic choice, y'all, has to begin before election day. We've said that, we know that, and we just want to stress that to all the listeners, watchers, and upcoming voters that we may acquire between now and November. It begins before the primary. Hell, it even begins before the candidate announces. It begins before the voter is even eligible to register to vote. That's how serious we got to be about this. Dustin told us a few episodes ago, bring your children to the poll. Dr. Campbell said, reach back and bring your children to the poll. Perry told us, I remember when that was the thing where you brought your children to the poll. So bring them up in a way that they could understand when districts are redesigned and or designed, candidate recruitments, fundraising, political networks, um, candidate endorsements, primaries, runoffs. Then we focus on November, right? The ballot is part of the political process. It is not the entire process, y'all. And once we really understand that that is not the whole process, we can definitely stop measuring political engagement by one particular day and a few particular candidates that some of the senior individuals in the community so chose to post up there as the outlet for us to vote for. I mean, yeah. Go ahead, give me something to close us out for the day before I make somebody mad. I don't want to do that just yet. I want to do that in the next episode. But Dr. Campbell, go ahead, give us something for give us some final charges and words for the week, Queen. Go ahead.
Don't just show up at the polls, show up early. Your vote in November is the finale, but the real script gets written in the primaries, the maps, and the money. If you're not paying attention before the ballot, you're not choosing your representatives, you're just approving someone else's choice. Be the
Absolutely.
voice that shapes the menu, not just the one who picks from it. Vote in every election, they're all important to how you live, where you live.
Here, you have the floor.
Uh, the Bible says, "Train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get old, they will not depart." That's not just a biblical truth, and that's just not a truth on spiritual grounds. That's a truth on practical grounds as well. Uh, when you don't teach your child some of these things that are just as true as what is it, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, are you teaching your child these basic principles? Because voting is those introduce them to it. And if not you, then some elder in the community make voting fun, make voting exciting for a child.
Mm,
Uh, we do too much condemnation sometimes on young voters. Like I
hmm
say, I heard a young man say non-voters detest him, and I was like, man, I never want to get to that point. Now that's fertile ground. That's who we not
Right.
touching. That's not who we should be, you know, casting
Right.
dispersions at, because they're not voting. Their voice says something as well, and you may not
Correct.
like what their voice says, but
Correct.
their voice is crying out very loud in these elections. And so
Man.
yeah, but yeah, definitely train your child up, your grandchild, get them involved, and let them see that voting, uh, not only is important, but it's a good thing to be a part of.
Absolutely. Dustin, you have the floor.
I ain't really got no quote of the day. And I probably
What?
ready to made some people mad. I really don't care. You can step to my front yard if you got a problem.
Mm.
But what I must say, with all this election talk, Do not assume that you still registered from last time you registered yourself to vote, because they will pop you off of that thing for whatever reason they pull out their back pocket.
Correct.
So let's look at some dates here. Don't turn page on me now. All right, October 5th. That is your last day to register to vote for the upcoming elections. Not
Correct.
October 6th, October 5th. That'd be one, two, three,
Correct.
four, five. Early voting starts October the 19th. You see how close that is to each other. That's why the 5th is your last day. You ain't really got to worry about this date no more, October 23rd, because that was the last day for your mail applications, because that little orange man then pretty much got them to strike that down. That's going to hurt his people more than it hurt anybody else, because he didn't do the math. But we're going to move on past that. October 30th is the last day for early voting. Reason I say that, because trust me, early voting is a lot more easier than election day voting. Because if you're a person
For
like
sure.
me, don't like crowds,
Hmm.
don't like stupid people, don't like people asking dumb ass questions, go on get that early vote in, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the only people there. You and the old people helping you with the machines. But election day is November the 3rd. Remember that. So if you happen to miss all those days from October 19th to October 30th, November 3rd is your last chance to vote. Now I don't want to hear no, oh, if you ain't vote, don't say nothing, because you know they're gonna say something anyway.
Correct.
Just go vote. Because if you sitting there next to another grown person and you allowing them to talk without telling them to go and vote, you a problem too.
Correct.
I'm gonna just
Correct.
let y'all know we got to get a lot of people up out of office, because a lot of people is controlling a lot of things y'all don't think they directly control. But I'm gonna let you know now. We have a bunch of people that would rather vote to ban marijuana in Texas than ban child marriage. Y'all just let that soak in. Because the same people that
Yeah.
voted to ban marijuana also did not vote to ban child marriage in the state of Texas.
Correct.
So that's all your little people that you like to be proud of. Just
Correct.
think, them the same ones that want to take your child into the bedroom.
Yeah. And marry him. So whatever they do to him in the bedroom is considered to be legal here in the state of Texas.
So we got some
Man.
wheels, we got some guy with anger management, we got a guy with a drinking problem, we got a guy that don't seem to know how to show up to vote for stuff, we got a dude that leave town every time there's a storm. All those folks are up.
And all of them protect the pedophile.
Every single one of them. Protect every form of pedophilia there is. So remember that when it comes time to vote.
Hmm.
If they look, here's an easy guide for you. If they in office currently, they don't need to be in office no more. That's an easy guide for you right there.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. My final word, my final word tonight is simple, y'all. Um, Beyond what we said tonight, beyond the strategic, I guess, pattern or practices or process we gave um on this evening, I definitely want us to stop just simply saying just vote, because it's so much more to just vote that has to go into voting. Not because voting isn't important. Stop saying it because the sentence ain't finished, y'all. Vote and know your district. Vote and know your primary. Vote and know your where the money goes. Know who drew the lines around you. Know who financed the candidate that represents you or the ones that wanted to represent you. Ask, uh, especially those candidates that's asking us for support, because we've spent too many generations fighting for places on the ballot, let alone the ballot to act like the processing of the ballot is the finish line. And we know it ain't. The ballot is just the tool. The question we definitely have to ask in our community is what political structure that tool operates inside of, right? Um, Last episode, episode 74. If you didn't go watch it, go peep it out. It told us whether the system could interfere with our elections or our ballot before it even got counted. But tonight, we assumed, and I just want you to know, we assumed that everybody was good and the ballot made it. And we discovered something else in our conversation on this evening. You do not necessarily have to take somebody's vote if you can change the political math all the way around it. You can move the line. You can move the meaningful election into a primary. You can let the financial contest narrow the candidate the candidate field before most citizens even figure out who they are and even show up. And none of it, I mean, none of that means the voter is powerless. That's the wrong lesson. The lesson is get there earlier, get their attention earlier, educate them consistently about what voting is. Don't wait until the map is final to learn redistricting. No, it's too late. Don't wait until November to discover, oh, dang, the primary chooses the nominee. Dr. Campbell already told y'all, don't wait until somebody is leading every poll to ask, who financed her? Who financed him? Was it APAC? Is it CPAC? Is it PPAC? Political power moves upstream, y'all. Our political participation needs to move upstream right along with it. If not, before it. There that's where this I definitely want you to know these next few episodes is going. Can your vote survive? Episode 75 asks if it survives, what is it actually worth? That's what we want to know. And don't church it up, because everybody's still gonna get to play some kind of role whenever it gets to get close to voting time. Of course, like Dustin say, we can't do the mob to the poll, pew to poll. We can't do that here in the state of Texas anymore. You liable to go to jail. You can't party at the poll. You can't do none of that. You can't get no water at the poll. So, I just want y'all to know, be ready because November is quickly approaching, and knowing who the president is ain't political theory. I just want y'all to know that whoever he endorses, even if he endorsed somebody, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take a look at what they are about because I'm an '80s baby, and GI Joe told us knowing is half the battle. Yeah, that's what he told us. Um, I'm your host, Christopher Jones, to Dr. Catherine Campbell, to Perry Busby, to Dustin. And if any of our viewer chooses to be here with us at this roundtable, I definitely want to thank you again to everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, StreamYard, Restream, wherever we come from. I'm telling you, we leaving a mark because this is the Knowledge is Power Podcast Network. And of course, we are definitely set at the Roundtable Talk Show. Again, look for us next Tuesday. Thank you for pulling your chairs up with us. Don't just share this episode. Share what you learned. Teach somebody packing and cracking. Ask somebody when was the last time they voted in the primary. Pull your district together. If you don't have a precinct chair, become one. Follow the money. Who invented the conspiracies? Read, question, organize. And most importantly, y'all, please understand that political power isn't something somebody hands to us in November. It's something we have to understand, build, protect, and exercise all year long. Remember, love one another, educate one another, organize with one another. And until next time, stay prayed up, stay prayed up, stay prayed up. Thank y'all for watching. God bless y'all. Good night.
And
Thanks for watching the Roundtable Talk Show. Like, share, and subscribe. New episodes every Tuesday at 9 on the KIP TV network.